There are quite a few great search baits that fishermen use from the back of the boat. Now, y'all might think I'm just talking about tournament fishermen, but I know that usually when there's two people fishing, one of them's usually at the back of the boat. Sometimes both of them are standing up here on the front. I see a lot of people saying still today when two fishermen are standing in front of the boat. But, always when Chris and I fished together for years, pretty much all the time, even in Bass and Gal practice, she was in the back of the boat. And what is a good bait? There's lots of them, but what's a good bait that's come along just in the last 2 or 3 years? That's a good search bait for locating fish and catching fish out of the back of the boat that the guy up in the front of the boat or the girl up in the front of the boat might have missed or overlooked. Good morning, guys and girls. April 5, spring has sprung. We're looking in the book of Job in the Catch a Better Life book. If you need a copy of this book, you can get it at Barnes & Noble, Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, Hobby Lobby, Books A Million, Amazon, and JimmyHouston.com. If you want your copy autographed, send it to us. We'll be happy to do that. And if you order from us, if you just tell when you order you want it autographed and who you want it autographed to, we'll be sure and take care of that. We sure will. Okay, looking at the book of Job. Everybody likes Job. Everybody compares themselves to Job from one time to another throughout their life. Most every Christian thinks of himself as Job. Nobody that I've ever heard of or known has gone through the situations that Job went through. Nobody. However, most of us at times feel like Job. And it says right here in Job 19:25 in the Catch a Better Life book that I know that my Redeemer lives and he shall stand at last on the earth. I know my Redeemer lives. I know my Redeemer lives. Tournament fishermen depend on sponsors. Can I tell you, guys, it's got television shows like we do, Jimmy Houston Outdoors on ESPN, World Fishing Network, Sportsman's Channel, Heartland, Pursuit, all those other networks. We depend on sponsors as well. Without sponsorship, most, if not all, tournament anglers can't compete. I know I couldn't have. Had I not had sponsors, I couldn't have played the tournament game. We had some situations where very well-known pros, big-time pros, have quit the game after losing a couple of major sponsors. Usually a tournament guy has several sponsors. We had several, and you could afford to lose maybe one big sponsor, maybe a couple of little sponsors. But if you lost a couple of the major sponsors, I would have been out. I'd have just had to quit. They simply couldn't pay the bills to keep competing. That's it. They couldn't pay the bills. A tournament fisherman, you think about, you win a tournament, you win $100,000. If you place in the money in a tournament at the top level nowadays, it's $10,000. You say, wow, $10,000. They made $10,000 in a week. But they have the same bills at home that everybody else has that's working a regular job. They still got to make house payments and buy food and raise kids and do all the other stuff. Have you ever been in a really tough financial situation? A really tough financial situation like that? Job was in this type situation, and worse, much worse, when he uttered these words right here. He had lost everything. He had lost everything but his wife and his life. And his wife wasn't very encouraging at that time, He said even his very breath was repulsive to her. She had encouraged him to curse God and die. She had lived with him as long as she wanted to. He had lost all of his children. That's something that I can't imagine. We see that happen occasionally in today's world. Car wrecks and some of the murder situations we see happen. Car wrecks sometimes will kill 2 or 3 or 4 kids in one family. Lost all of his children. I can't imagine how big of a hole that must have left in his heart. He'd lost all his wealth. He was a very, very wealthy man. Lost all of his wealth. Probably that didn't mean a whole lot to him at that time. He probably didn't care. He'd lost all of his associates. He was a guy that could go into town and sit down with the other rich guys around town, big-time landowners, big-time cattle farmers, and he was respected. He was honored because he was so smart and so wealthy and such a good guy. He had lost his health. He had lost all of his possessions, everything he had, all gone. I've been in that situation of losing all my wealth 3 different times in my lifetime since we got out of college. When we got out of college, we didn't have anything, nothing. But I've been 3 different times where we lost all the money we had. We weren't like Job. I felt like Job. I called myself Job at times when some of those happened, but we weren't like Job because Job lost everything. All gone. All gone. Including his health. Including his health. All he had left, his wife and his life. Total desperation. How would you react when that happened? How would I react? How would I react if I'd lost everything except Chris? I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have anything to eat. Didn't have any boats, rod and reels, guns. Can't go kill or catch something. Would you blame somebody? I'm pretty sure I would. I'm pretty sure I would blame somebody. Would you blame God? When this happened, and you've done your very best to live a righteous life, and even if in the past you haven't really lived a righteous life, but you turned yourself over and you turned yourself to God, and God has got you going in the right path, and you're living as good as you possibly can right now, and yet you lost everything. Would you blame God? We can see in today's verse that at Job's most dreadful moment, his faith, there's that word, his faith seemed to be the greatest. He seemed to have more faith right then than any other time in his life. God was his Redeemer, and he stood on that belief. You and I are going to have trials. Those of you that have been on here for a while know that I'm going through some big trials right now with my beautiful wife, Chris. We've gone through a lot of trials in our lifetime. We're going to have pain. I've had pain bring me to my knees. It hurt so badly. But we know that our Redeemer lives. I know that our Redeemer lives, and we know that he shall stand at last on this earth. He shall stand on this earth. Here's our tip for today. A Tokyo rig. That's right. Tokyo rig was the answer. A Tokyo rig is an exceptional back of the boat search bait. A Tokyo rig is a weight that's got a couple little swivels on there. You got your bait, and then you got a weight coming down where that weight bounces on the bottom with your bait off of the bottom. Excellent bait to search and find fish with. Excellent bait to fish in the back of the boat with. A lot of those little type baits that work well in the back of the boat. You got to pay attention to how your guy in the front of the boat's fishing. If he's fishing a Tokyo rig, you might be throwing a spinner bait in the back of the boat. A spinner bait, that's right. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. And remember, I sure do love you.